This world so cold that I keep it chillin'. This world so cold that I keep it chillin'. I'm on my back and I'm on my skrilla. I hang with the gang and I hang with the killers. Yeah.
Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Burleson, of course, and today's episode, of course, I got to bring Skyler back on the pod right after the Super Bowl. Man, just the game itself was interesting. We're going to get into that, but first of all, just the impact that Taylor Swift is having. It's the most watched Super Bowl of all time. Like, what are your initial thoughts on just kind of the numbers that the Super Bowl pulled? And even last year, like, that was the biggest Super Bowl ever, and it literally cleared it.
I mean, you're talking about a completely different target demographic in terms of what Taylor Swift brings to ratings. I mean, you're talking about, what would you say, Jackson, is the target audience for?
Well, people who don't watch football, like people who watch like The Bachelor, you know, like those kind of people who are watching like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I mean, we're being exposed to an audience that has never been seen before. And honestly, like, I'll go on a limb and say this, like, I think Taylor Swift could possibly, like, single-handedly could make the game of football a global game, just on her own. Like,
It's already global.
Yeah, but it's going to be even more global because Taylor Swift is a global figure. Everyone knows who she is. I mean, before the Super Bowl, she was doing a concert in Japan, you know? So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to be tuning into football, and like we'll get into this a little bit, but Brazil is having a football game next year, which we can kind of elaborate a little bit into that. But Taylor Swift literally in the AFC Championship game wore a friendship bracelet by the company of Wove, and their sales went up 470%. And it was the most watched AFC Championship game of all time. 55 million viewers. That's insane. Like,
What's about revenue?
she's not even on the field. Talk about revenue. She's brought in like $330 million for the NFL this year. $330 million.
It's
like
it's been a good. I think the NFL definitely benefited from having her around, and obviously TV ratings. But I think the biggest takeaway here is that you grabbed an audience that you had no business grabbing, like no business, and Taylor Swift brought in that audience. And I mean, yeah, I'm not one of those guys that's gonna hate on her. I'm not the person that's watching the game and going, oh, you know, Taylor Swift. It's like, dude, who cares, man? Like, who absolutely cares? You get shots like that all the time in Laker games when you see Jack Nicholson and you see.
Yeah, you want to see the celebrities. I mean, throughout the whole like Super Bowl, I mean, they're showing off celebrities. Like Ice Spice was in the booth with Taylor Swift. Like LeBron was there. Jay-Z, Beyonce. Like they do that. Yeah, they do that for those big games. But
they're always doing that though. This isn't the first time that any sports broadcast has done that. People are mad now.
It's just that she goes to 13 NFL games. Like she goes to like most of the games. Like that's the only reason people were upset, because they're showing her too much on TV, which, like, I mean, how can you blame them? I mean, Travis Kelce, like, and her are together, and of course when Kelce scores a touchdown, like, they're gonna pan it to her. Like, that's the reaction that they want to see. Like, oh, how's she reacting to this?
It's smart TV, is it not?
It's genius TV. I mean, it's just marketing. Like, the NFL right now is on a trajectory to where I'm not going to say, like, I was looking at this, I'm not going to say it's going to be, like, you know, become soccer right away, because it just won't. Like, viewership-wise, I'm just talking about viewership-wise strictly. I'm not getting into, like, the sports and everything like that. But, like, what, 4 billion people watch the World Cup, and what, this year, like, 200 million across all platforms watch the Super Bowl this year. I mean, when you look at that number, like, it's a wide gap. And obviously the NFL is football, but most countries don't even have a football team. And with Taylor Swift just here, I mean, she has like 200 million followers on Instagram, like alone. Like, you just look at her Instagram following, that's the amount of viewers that the Super Bowl had. So, like, and even last year, I mean, they didn't hit 200. They hit, like, I think it was like 114, 117, around that range. Don't quote me on that number.
But it was a better game.
It was. And like, one thing I wanted to touch on, which was absolutely insane, was Kyle Juszczyk's wife, Kristen, she literally was making those like custom-made jackets. Like they're sick, by the way. Like I love the design. I love the design of the jacket, but she literally like credited the Swifties for her getting an NFL licensing deal to provide these jackets as an official NFL clothing brand. Like, that's insane.
With the enemy though, because like she essentially, her boyfriend just took you guys out, but hey, we're sorry to break your hearts. Here's a nice licensing agreement.
But it happened before that. Yeah. It happened in the middle of the season, so it was before the Super Bowl.
That's worse.
Yeah, it happened way before the Super Bowl. Like it was a big thing because I think like Taylor Swift like bought one of those jackets, or I don't even know if she bought it. She probably was giving it to her for free, but she literally was wearing Travis Kelce custom-made jacket that she made, and then that's when she started going viral. Yeah. That's literally when she started going viral because she literally like she credited the Swifties for that, which like it's insane what she's doing. Just from it's insane. She's growing it, and like you got people like my sister. Shout out my sister. She's a Swiftie, and she never watches football, but now she's like, oh, when the Cowboys playing? Like, like what? She never asked me that question. Like she's never watched that. She's never watched football like that. She'll watch the Super Bowl, but for the halftime show, of course. Which a lot of people thought Taylor Swift was gonna be in the halftime show.
Genius. That would have been, and I would have been much rather okay with it.
I think it would have been fine. I mean, it would have added something to the performance, but I mean, I don't think Usher has had a song with Taylor Swift. Last time I checked.
Are we gonna go down the Usher performing at the Super Bowl?
Well, I think I think like I think I was kind of like tuning out to it, and then they started the roller skates. That's when I started to really get into it. I was like, dang, they're roller skating right now?
Like I grew up on Usher, I grew up on Burn and I grew up on I'm an old cat. So for me, I just don't understand the logic behind slow songs in a Super Bowl. Like we're out here talking about these are my confessions. Like,
but that's a hit for him though. That's a hit. That's why they do it.
Like mood music. Like last year when they did the West Coast with Ice Cube, and then you got 50 Cent doing the...
Dude, but honestly, bro...
Gets you pumped up.
Bring it... Dude, honestly, what got me pumped up about the Usher halftime show was Lil Jon coming out, dude. That was hype. That was hype.
From Usher, Alicia Keys, she was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant performance. And then you brought out Ludacris. Bro,
yeah, Ludacris.
His old school fro on from...
Yeah, dude, yeah.
I thought, like, that was great.
He was really bringing it back. Yeah. That was sick.
But Usher, to me, the vibe for the Super Bowl, like... You remember when Justin Timberlake did it?
Yeah.
His performance was amazing. I just don't think Usher was a good... He had the longest time in halftime history. He got a lot of the most time to perform, and it couldn't have been... It should have been short. I'm sorry. I'm not a hater. I'm not trying to hate on it, but...
What was about that performance that, like, you just should have been short? Because, like, I thought it was a good show. I mean, there was a lot of choreography and stuff. Like,
if you want to make babies and you want to fall in love with the girl on the street, or you're trying to find someone in the club, I'm watching the Super Bowl. Men are violent. They're tackling people. At least get some Limp Bizkit. Or if we're going to go the genre, give me some R&B genre that has some substance, dog. This man, all of his songs are the same message, but in 8 different ways, and I'm watching the Super Bowl, man. When you think of George Kittle, you don't think of Usher.
But hold on though. That's
a good...
I get when you're talking about like you as a football fan. Yeah. I get it. But when you're talking about, we were just talking about earlier to kind of circle this whole conversation back around, is literally the audience is different from the Super Bowl. It always has been. Like
watch the audience though. I have to perspective. Did you see how many phones weren't lighting up when Usher was performing?
I saw a lot of phones light up.
Oh, dude, go back and watch the film.
I saw it. Are we really gonna dissect if the crowd was wearing like?
Come on, bro. We're sports personalities, of course.
But okay. From what I saw, I saw a lot of blue lights, which for me. That's what I'm saying. So there's a different. It looked like a phone light, but I know phone lights aren't blue. So I think in terms of your phone light, yes. But back to where I want to go to, the demographic for the Super Bowl is always different. Like my grandma watched the Super Bowl. Like she's not a football person. Like we were just talking about the Taylor Swift fans, like bringing it in. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of first-time Super Bowl watchers this year. I'm sure there is. Now there's obviously the fans like us who are huge NFL guys and are like, you know, I mean, I was annoyed with it at first, but I understood, you know, why they were doing it. So I grew to accept it.
15 minutes for Usher.
I'm not. Well, he's Usher, so like,
He's Usher.
he's a big time. He's a big time name. He's box office.
You think Usher's box office?
He's been box offices like since he's blown up. Like it's Usher. Like that's a classic name, dude. Like when you think of like Jay-Z, you're like, okay, he's box office.
Now compared Usher to Jay-Z.
But my point is, both of those names are sells. I get they're different categories. They're not even the
genre. Not genre. I'm talking about like different level of famous, different level of marketability.
Well, like I mean, they're both famous in their own way. So like, I mean, you could say Jay-Z's famous in a different demographic than Usher is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, it's a whole different conversation.
Personally, it wasn't. I'm not crapping on Usher. Like Usher, obviously, I know Usher is, you know, iconic and he has great songs. All I'm saying is that for a 15-minute Super Bowl halftime show, you took me 13 minutes to get to the song that I wanted to listen to, which was.
But here's the thing, though. They wanna like every Super Bowl halftime show. They save the best song for last.
Hey man, let's do it.
They work their way up.
I got you.
And dude, the kind of outfit changes. Like I don't know how they change outfits so quick, dude. Like we need to get somebody like we need to get Insider on that, dude, because I'm searching for the sky and I can't figure out how Usher literally changes the outfit like in like 15 seconds. It seemed like he's in a white jacket and then he's in a blue like army suit or whatever.
Who's so mighty when he like has the power and he's like I got the power.
Yeah.
And he wipes his whole clothes off.
So he's got outfits layered. Is that why Usher was sweating so much during the show?
He saw Alicia Keys. He's like, oh my god.
I don't know, if, dude. Did you see like what he was like? He looked like a happy camper.
With Alicia?
Yeah.
Can you be a happy camper?
Yeah.
Alicia's not.
I think I would be.
Yeah,
I
transition before we get a little.
Wait. Yeah. I wanna see real quick though what your take is on this. When's Drake getting his halftime show?
He's too much money.
But when's he getting it though?
He's too much money.
He's the big name in rap. Like
he's too much money. And when you think about it, if they were to get Drake, you just cut his catalog 80%, you know, because of all the songs. I mean, reality in the hip hop culture and rap.
But you're doing that for everyone, though.
You don't do that for Usher. You don't do that for Usher.
But he still, I mean, he doesn't have songs that everyone like may know, but he's got a lot of other songs like that, you know.
I think
like,
it would be an amazing performance because you have all the songs. Sorry about my dogs; they're all over the place, and it's in Jackson's shop right now.
Sorry.
Me personally, I don't know, man. Like Drake would be an amazing halftime show, but the amount of money involved, I feel like Usher was the more cost-effective option.
Yeah, and I feel like, in my opinion, like kind of in this, I thought it was like kind of 10 years too late for Usher.
So too.
That's what I thought. Like he's great, but I thought it was a little too late.
It's not relevant. And and I'm not saying that you need to bring on God because there's some legends because they had the Rolling.
Well, he's not like you know like.
He's not Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Well, no one's Michael Jackson.
Well,
no one's Elvis Presley. Like those guys are on a completely different stratosphere.
I'm just saying, like it wasn't like a headliner where you're tuning in. Like, how many people do you know are going, you know, coming outside going, man, you hear that new Usher joint?
Nah. I mean, I was on Twitter and I kind of heard like I didn't really hear like a bunch of bad things about it, but it was like kind of like, you know, it was like a like, you know, you got like a whole like whirlpool going on with people roller skating in the center stage. I mean,
that was impressive. I'm not coming at the choreography. I'm not going to come at the production.
Yeah.
All I'm coming at is that I don't think anybody your age or anybody maybe up till 29 still listening to Usher. You're talking about the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, the 50-year-olds who love Usher. So, I mean, to each his own. Wasn't a fan, but if you like it, you like it.
Yeah, and then so after the halftime show, we had an eventful finish to Super Bowl 58, dude. Like it was wild. I'll bring up Taylor Swift one more time. The last play of the game was 13 plays, or lucky 13 or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I saw this graphic with a bunch. We'll throw it up, but there was a bunch of like 13s. Like it was like the halftime score, 10 plus 3, 13. Like all these different kinds of stats, and I just thought it was intriguing in a way.
How they pinpoint.
How they kind of connected everything. Like with every single win this year with Travis Kelce on the field and Taylor Swift is there. There's 13 wins. I don't know if I'm not big in this conspiracy theory, but it's kind of a insane coincidence if that's the facts. But
it is.
It's insane. But let's get into the game itself, because I know you football people have been dying to hear what we got to say post Super Bowl. We both picked the Chiefs, so our predictions weren't wrong there. But I mean, man, Patrick Mahomes, he proved it once again against a stellar defense who was playing out of their mind. Let's say the least. Like they put up a heck of a fight. Like they really did. They were making him run for his life all day. It kind of reminded me of Super Bowl 55 a little bit, just for how much he was scrambling. Like it kind of reminded me of that Super Bowl a little bit. And this time Mahomes, he came out on top, and he didn't play the greatest game the entire way. I mean, he kind of struggled. He didn't have a touchdown pass in the first half. So, I mean, it was a very strange game for him. And then he came out on top when he needed to. He made the play. He made the throw. When you give Patrick Mahomes the ball with 2 minutes left in OT, you know that man's going to win the Super Bowl. Like, when San Francisco kicked that field goal, I knew it was over. Because number 15, he's getting his third ring at that point. That's legacy right there. That's an all-time great already. That's an all-time great. And he's not Tom Brady, but he's on his way. He's on his way.
He's better.
No, he's not. He's on his way. He's creeping up the stairs. He's creeping up the stairs. The GOAT is at the top right now. He's about 4 steps down.
What?
4 more rings. 4 more rings. 4 more rings.
No, bro. Then Jordan needs 5 more rings. LeBron needs 7 more rings.
Why? Well, why would LeBron need? No.
Let me just say something real quick. All right. Love you. You're like a brother to me. All right. You like that? I love you. You're like a brother to me. But let me tell you something. What was the one thing we talked about at the beach? Where if Mahomes got that 3rd Super Bowl ring, which he did, in their 7 years,
Okay, fine, but 7 years is not a career, though. 7 years isn't a career.
I get to finish. I let you do your.
But the people watching, 7 years isn't a career, correct? Correct?
Watching at home, if you compare Tom Brady's first 7 years to Mahomes' first 7 years, you ready for this?
Fine.
He clears him. Clears it. Touchdowns, interceptions, passing yards, games won, QBR, regular season MVPs,
Fine.
Super Bowl MVPs. Mahomes just tied Montana for the second most Super Bowl MVPs in NFL history. 3, right? The dude, listen, I get the whole.
Oh my god! Oh my god! We almost had a camera like go down, dude. That was so close.
I get the whole. Focus, my God.
That was insane, dude.
7 rings. I understand you use that for the rest of the time there.
Sorry, Daddy. We got dogs. We got dogs on the loose, dude.
What I'm trying to make is this, right? I'm not saying Mahomes right now is better than Brady. You can't say that because one guy played till 46 and the other guy's still not even 30 yet. What I am saying, if you're comparing side by side as their careers are going, he clears them. And let's admit that. He clears them, and that's okay.
I'm not gonna admit it.
You have to.
Why though?
Because it's
why?
What it is.
But 7 years isn't a career.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
Hold on. It is a career, and it's a Hall of Fame career. It's a Hall of Fame career. He has the football. It's a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, we got a whole football game going over here with the dogs, dude. Yeah, I mean,
It's a Hall of Fame career. If he stops right now, he's a Hall of Famer. He's already.
But here's the thing, Skyler. We both agree on that.
Yeah.
So what's the debate?
Well, no, I'm not debating. I'm saying you said it wasn't a career. That is a career.
No. No. So what I'm saying is Brady played for what, 20 years? 22 if I'm correct. And you got Mahomes, who has played 7 seasons, and Mahomes played 7 seasons, and you're going to tell me right now that Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. I don't like it. I can't do it. It's something I will not sit here and acknowledge because he's got a long way to go. Let's be honest here. Like, I get the first 7 seasons. Like, I completely understand that. But 7 years can never be the argument to put a player over somebody else when their career is not over. It just isn't a argument that I like to entertain. Now, I give him credit. The first 7 years is fine. Like, his stats are better. He's got the same amount of Super Bowl rings, more MVPs. I'll give you that. But what I'm not ready to do, and I'm not sure if you're even ready for this either, is to put Mahomes on that mantle over Brady. I can't do it. I refuse to do it because...
Pass the eye test.
Of course he does, but of course he does.
You understand what I'm saying by pass the eye test?
I get it, but you can't use that as the sole thing of your argument. You just
The
can't.
thing about your argument, though, is the longevity and the 7 rings.
That's not what I'm saying though. Like, you have to. Mahomes only played for 7 years, right? And your impact on winning, okay? Your impact on winning, which you bring this up a lot. Brady has a better impact on winning at this current predicament in both of their careers. That's what we live in. We don't live in the future, guys. We don't live in a world where 10 years later, Mahomes is the GOAT. Like, maybe it could be a possibility. I'm not ruling that out ever. He's on a great pace, but at this current moment, he's still behind the 8 ball. He still is.
So for me, winning 7 Super Bowls is the equivalent of Bill Russell winning 11. Is it not? It is the equivalent. It is just level.
Okay, fine. In football terms, yes, because that's the most rings a football player's ever had. I'm with you on that. But when you bring up Bill Russell, you know, his efficiency's not great. His points per game are not good. He averaged 20 rebounds a game in an era that wasn't as skilled. That's a whole basketball topic. But if you want to get into Tom Brady, he's arguably the best of all time at dissecting a defense.
Yeah, he's smart.
He throws the football the fastest out of the pocket, and he doesn't run. And he does all of that. He's the smartest. He's the smartest football player to ever step on the field.
I agree with you.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and you can give him that.
And he has the rings to back it up. Even before the rings, he has the all-time passing yards record. He has the all-time touchdowns record. He still has the most playoff wins. He has 35 playoff wins. If you're going to say Mahomes is on that trajectory, that's fine. If you're going to say he has better stats in the first 7 years, that's fine. I'll give you that. But Brady still has 20 more playoff wins than that man.
Yeah,
20.
So played until he was 46.
But that's just amazing.
Name another quarterback that played into his 40s. Well into his 40s.
I can't not as an elite level. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, okay,
look at Brady. Brady is LeBron. Okay, when it comes to longevity, that argument is I don't know if Mahomes will have as much longevity. I don't. But the problem becomes, Skyler, when you say these things about Mahomes, Tom Brady. When did he really lose his step? It was probably his last year in the league. Because maybe his last 2 years, but he was still going to the playoffs and he was still competing for Super Bowls.
So
at 45 years of age.
100%.
100%. He won a Super Bowl against Mahomes during that time as well.
That's impressive.
I'll use that as an argument to stamp that and end it because Brady is 2-0 against Mahomes. 2-0.
I mean, he's 2-0 against Brady. But we both.
But we know Eli Manning is not better than Mahomes. We know that.
I understand, but I'm just saying.
We know that.
It's so hard when you go to the head-to-head matchups. Like Brady has 3 Super Bowl losses, and they're pretty bad losses in terms of who he was.
Patrick Mahomes has one loss against the greatest player ever. We could get.
I'd rather that than lose to Nick Foles and Eli, right?
But no one. But here's the thing: if you're gonna bring that up, like, and I'm the type of person in the LeBron Jordan debate. I don't bring up, LeBron lost in the finals.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Jordan lost in the playoffs before that. So I mean, that could be a complete. It's the same thing. Mahomes lost in the playoffs. At least Brady made the Super Bowl. That's a completely different argument. We could go that way.
I agree with you. You standing on your ground and saying that you standing on your 2 feet and saying that Tom Brady's better. Yes, right now he is better.
Yeah, he is.
In my personal, subjective opinion, if I had to start a team right now, I'm choosing Mahomes, and that's all I'm saying. I mean, I get it, 7 rings, records, all longevity, all of it. Right now, yes, was I wild on the beach? 100%. But for me personally, if I had to start a team, I'm Mahomes, and I don't think that's a wild take. I think that's very reasonable.
I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable, but we
talk all day. We got other topics.
Okay, so one topic I do want to bring up is why does Kyle Shanahan not know the overtime rules?
No comment.
No, you have to comment. You got a Kyle Shanahan. You're a Kyle Shanahan hater, dude.
I'm not a Kyle Shanahan hater.
You are.
I'm not a Kyle Shanahan hater.
You are.
I just know that I'm not a Kyle Shanahan hater.
You are, dude.
He's one of the best, if not the best offensive mind ever to touch the
But you've been, maybe not a hater, but you've been one of his harshest critics.
Because he's always missing the one piece he needs. And respectfully, and I had Brock as my 2, but when you're in the Super Bowl, all 3 Super Bowls that he was in, right? All 3. So you had the O-coordinator with the Falcons, right? You had the head coach against KC twice as the head coach of San Francisco versus KC. Kyle Shanahan has been very unfortunate in terms of not the Falcons game. That was just mismanagement and poor play calling. But these last 2 games against the Chiefs, he got Mahomes. Like, it's that simple. Like, you would think.
And that's the second time, too.
When you dominate the first half, the San Francisco 49ers dominated the first half. So they dominated. And they were only up by 7. And they dominated the first half the first game they played. So the problem becomes in terms of, and this is just the way I analyze it because you watch football the same way, what are your halftime adjustments? Because what it seems like to me, the past 2 times at least, going into halftime, he has the leverage, he has the advantage, and then Andy Reid just dices him up like some jambalaya and cooks him, then eats him. He literally just out-adjusts him. Like, they make adjustments, and the problem becomes two third downs and 4. You were watching the game.
Yep.
Purdy had 2 opportunities to get that ball in the red zone. They were terrible in the red zone. They were awful. They could not get the ball in the end zone. And that's not going to win you Super Bowls, especially when you got a guy like Mahomes who's seasoned, do you think Mahomes is even nervous when he steps there anymore? He acts like that's his home. Purdy wasn't supposed to be here, period. So I think you got to take into consideration that Kyle Shanahan went to the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy. And those guys are not better than Mahomes and Brady. And so what do you do? At that point, what do you do? Do you move off Purdy? I don't think you can. 33 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, number 1 QBR in the league. But also, too, he's not going to make the plays you need him to make. Debo gets hurt. Kittle, for some reason, like you were talking about the box score, was 2.
Yeah, George Kittle had 2 catches for 4 yards.
So that's not going to get it done. So, I mean, what are your options?
Well, the thing is, right, you mentioned, like, he's missing that one piece, which, since you said it, it seems like the quarterback is always what he's been missing.
I think so.
That's what it seems like. But I'm going to cut my man Brock Purdy some slack for the first time because it's his 2nd year in the league. I think he's going to develop. His IQ for the game is going to increase. He's going to get better at throwing the ball with pressure in his face. He just will. You remember this play. It was 3rd and 4 in the red zone, and Purdy just gets rid of it. Why? Because Chris Jones immediately is in his face. Now, that's not Purdy's fault. That is the offensive line's fault because they literally gave that man a half a second to throw the football. And that's not enough. And you know this, like in a very big situation, in the biggest game of the year, that's not enough time to dissect a defense at the caliber of the Chiefs defense. Now, I will give Brock Purdy credit as well. Again, he didn't turn the football over. He took care of it very well. He was making very smart reads. I will give him that. But the thing I think the 49ers should have stuck with more is the running game. I feel like Kyle Shanahan just got away from that for whatever reason. Just feed McCaffrey.
He had 20.
Just feed him.
He had 20 carries.
But you got to give it to him just a tad more because he is the man. When you got him breaking out for like 15, 20-yard gain, he literally changes that offense. You can now have Purdy in play action rolling to his right. You can have those opportunities now, which gets George Kittle involved. And Deebo Samuel pulled his hamstring. So you have to have those design plays in place, and you have to stick with the run. Everyone's so quick to abandon the run in these playoffs. They are. When you're losing by 3 points, you stick with what has been giving you the advantage. You have to press your advantage, and pressing your advantage is running the football for San Francisco, and they stopped pressing it. They did.
You got 20 carries. And what he ended up with like 75 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good game. He had a good game.
And a touchdown off that trick play. My thing is that you mentioned that Brock Purdy should get more time. I'm a Brock Purdy guy. I ranked him as the second best quarterback in the league this year in terms of production and where he was at, right? But for me,
McCaffrey had 80 yards. 80 yards, 22 carries.
That's a lot of carries. So for me, I think the running game was solved.
And maybe like getting Deebo involved in like the jet sweep.
Deebo pulled his hamstring. He was limited to crossing routes and deep posts.
But when you got Trent Williams out there on the outside, I mean, he can give him enough space.
He was getting beat up too. I mean, listen, I think that Kyle Shanahan has been unfortunate at the QB position. And it's not saying Brock Purdy's not a good guy. He's just not Tom Brady. He's not.
No one is.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes, no one is.
That's where your advantage is missing. I mean, if Jimmy Garoppolo hits a wide open Emmanuel Sanders, we're not talking about this Chiefs dynasty. You know what I'm saying? Time and time again, they've been outplayed by somebody who was just legendary at that point. And at that point, it might not even. I'm not even going to put the blame on Kyle Shanahan at that point. You got to score in the red zone. They didn't score in the red zone.
No, they didn't.
And they lost to somebody who, in my opinion, it was obvious.
What do you think was like? Because when in overtime to start, it was with like 14-10 to go in OT, and it was third and like 14, I think, and Purdy gets the pass deflected. It was a holding on Trent McDuffie, like. What? Like, I feel like that was the turning point for the Niners to be able to take advantage, and then they go 8 minutes down the field, and they settle for a field goal.
You have to. You have to.
But do you, though? Because earlier in the game, if you remember, in the red zone, Kyle Shanahan decided to go for it on 4th and 3. Remember? Why didn't he take the field goal in that situation? If you're going to risk it then risk it in the OT where you have the Niners literally had nothing to lose, because if you put the Chiefs backed into the end zone, you are forcing Patrick Mahomes to go the length of the field, which, that's not how it happened, but he very well could have. I'm not going to doubt him in that situation. But if you put more pressure on Mahomes to go farther down the field, even if they lost anyways, so go for it on 4th downs. Screw it. What do you have to lose? It's the Super Bowl. That is the time and place to go all in. That's when this conservative play calling with Kyle Shanahan comes in, because he's been aggressive throughout the game, but then in the most crucial situation in the entire ball game, he decides to kick a field goal knowing Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. Knowing.
But also, if they missed the conversion and they were terrible.
It would have been the same way. The Chiefs would have came down and won the Super Bowl anyways. It would have been
easier because they wouldn't have scored the touchdown. They would have just kicked the field goal. So, I mean, I understand why.
But either way, they would have scored to win it.
Oh, for sure.
Either way.
Inevitably, Kyle Shanahan is going to take most of this blame. And then, obviously, after the press conferences where they're like, we didn't have a plan for the overtime rules.
How do you not have a plan? If you're a head coach in the NFL, you have to have a plan for everything. You have to. You have to be prepared for everything.
Those guys weren't ready for those questions. I think a lot of those guys did not want to. Who wants to be up at the podium after you just lost the biggest game of your career? So, I mean, you can make a lot out of what the words were said and how they were taken in the context that they were. I'll give players a pass, it's tough. But as a coach, when you're asked about the overtime rules and he doesn't know about it, that's a ginormous red flag. That's a huge red flag. Because when you're the leader of the team and you're making the game plan, okay, this happens here. What are we going to do? You prepare for every situation, like I said. And it just seems like, when you get to the biggest games, the big-time coaches show up and the big-time players show up. We've seen it. When Sean McVay and the Rams were in the Super Bowl, Sean McVay outcoached the Bengals. He did. Sean McVay is Aaron Donald blew up a fourth down conversion. I mean, coaching matters, and I think it's the most important part, at least of football, right? Outside of the talent and whatever. I don't think. I blame Kyle for the Falcons and the Patriots one that was just piss poor, but the last two, man, he just got unfortunate. And that's really what it comes down to.
I don't know, but
yeah, unfortunate.
I feel like this one was unfortunate, but at the same time, it was controllable.
It was, but they played. Listen, both teams. It was a defensive game, right? Can we admit that it was a defensive game?
Yeah, it was a defensive. It was a defensive game most of the time, which. Honestly, I loved the defensive game. I mean, we both called it. I mean, we knew it was going to be a defensive game, which, by the way, I kind of wanted to bring this up. Do you think if Dre Greenlaw didn't get injured, the Niners would have won the game?
Absolutely not.
That didn't play as big of a factor as you thought?
No, because at the end of the day, Andy Reid put the ball in Mahomes' hand. Listen, Mahomes wasn't doing anything for the first 2.5 quarters. Wasn't doing anything, right? And Chiefs defense, like they've been doing all year, they keep him in it, and then you don't need 40 points from Mahomes every game. You just need that 10-minute spurt where he's acting like Mahomes.
But dude, did you see that that Greenlaw injury, dude? Oh, it was nasty. He was running off the sideline. That thing just popped.
Oh, man, the game.
That's rough.
It was one of the best Super Bowls I've watched in a while.
It was. I agree.
In terms of the story for me, at least the stories for me is last two drives from Mahomes. He looked like the best player in football.
Oh, it's not even a question.
And when it comes down to winners being winners and knowing what to do in those moments, Brock's never been in that situation. Brock wasn't in that situation in Iowa State, and he wasn't in that situation in high school. He's never been that guy. And so to expect him to do well on third down conversions, against one of the best defenses in the league, and to expect him to outplay somebody who's been there already, that's a tough ask. It's a tough ask for anybody. He didn't lose the game, but my God, he didn't do anything to win the game.
So
and that's
when it comes to moments, Super Bowl moments, we did a list of that. Where do you rank that Mahomes pass in the Super Bowl moments? Just the one he threw to McCole Hardman for the win.
I don't rank that. I mean, it wasn't at the buzzer because the quarters, they get the ball until they either get turned on downs or they turn it over. So it didn't matter.
But essentially it kind of was because it was with 3 seconds left.
It was at the buzzer, right? But technically they would have had another quarter. So it wasn't as significant as everyone thought it was going to be because it was literally, if the clock would have ran out, they would have kept going until...
Oh, so would they have been in the same, field?
Yeah. So it wouldn't matter.
So it wouldn't have mattered, yeah.
I think that was impressive. I thought the 4th and 1, where the Niners had an opportunity to close the game, and Mahomes.
Yes, and it was a minute. It was with 1:53, right?
That was the play.
Yeah.
That was the play of the game because at that point, the Niners, you had that emotional high. One play.
I think. I think also one of the plays of the games for me was the punt that got muffed. I think that was a huge play. Early on, it got the Chiefs going.
Terrible situational awareness by the block. Terrible. And if you're the returner, bro.
But it hit the back of his calf, though.
That's what I'm talking about, though. If you see the guys in the way, go and push him down. Go and get him out of the way. It's not the time to be playing communication games in one of the loudest stadiums in the world because it's the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, do what you need to do to win. But the Chiefs have some sloppy play too. But Mahomes is the story to me. I know that's very mainstream.
No, he is.
He's the story to me. The Niners still played an outstanding game. But if you have the opportunity to cut the head off the dragon, just do it. Just do it. The Bills had an opportunity, missed it.
I feel like,
the Ravens
yeah.
had an opportunity, missed it. All year, the Chiefs have been getting by. And I was telling people, I'm like, we were even seeing it in our early picks. We're like, hey, man, like, this is the Niners Super Bowl to win. But if Mahomes get there, I'm hopping off ship. Like, I mean, like, we were like, yeah, man, like the Niners. And then Mahomes beats the Bills. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then all of a sudden, okay, the Ravens. I'm like, but they're not going to bet against him. And then he beats Lamar. I'm like, oh, that's really weird.
Yeah.
He gets him like, bro, why am I going to bet? Like, why are we? It's the Brady effect at that point. Like, I'm not going to. I hope the Niners would have won because you want to see
You want to see newer teams. You want to see newer teams. So, do you think the Chiefs can be the first team ever to three-peat?
If they grab another one, if they upgrade the offense 100%, easy. If they sign Chris Jones and they get a number one receiver, yes. But until that happens, and I think it's still wide open. One thing I want to get back to before we get to other topics is that I'm having a hard time digesting. So Brock made it to the Super Bowl, right? And now you see all over the news and whatever, he's not the guy, this, that, and the third. They're crapping on him for whatever. How come that Brock Purdy is all of a sudden he's not the guy, and they're trying to give him the Jared Goff treatment, you know what I'm saying? But you got Lamar Jackson, who won his second regular season MVP, terrible, in the playoff game.
Oh yeah, and it's crazy. Lamar Jackson had the same stats almost as Tyrod Taylor in 2018, and he won MVP.
No, it really bothers me because you'll give Lamar a pass, you'll give Dak a pass, you'll give Tua a pass. Tua's looking at contract extensions for upwards of $50 million, but Brock, who's rocking a $75,000 salary, whatever it is, to be the last pick over.
No, it's like I think it's like $900K or something like that. He's like he has a roommate in an apartment in San Francisco. That's how wild it is.
He literally is outperforming all.
Do you think Brock will get the bag soon? Like when do you think he'll get when do you think he'll get it? You don't think he'll get the bag? If the Niners were to give him the bag, what do you think Purdy would be worth?
Next year will be he's not up for a contract extension until after the regular season next year, or after the postseason, whenever the season ends. So for me, I don't think you give it to him because listen, what happened in that game and he pushes the narrative. Kittle had a bad game, Debo was hurt, right? And Christian got pretty much contained. When all three of those guys weren't doing their jobs, he looked very average. And the narrative is the team is stacked, right?
But essentially, it's a team game. So if you don't have receivers running routes, you got no one to throw to.
Kelsey didn't do it.
Yeah, he only had 1 yard in the first half, and then he turned it around.
MVS had a touchdown.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one question I kind of was like, I didn't really like it. I disliked Travis Kelce kind of shoving Andy Reid on the sideline. I did dislike that. I didn't like that.
So you're an athlete and a coach. I mean, even Zach. I don't care that he's here. Zach, I'll ask you right now, right? When you were playing baseball and say your position coach took you out of the game, you'd be pissed. Would you not be pissed? And you'd be pissed too, because Travis Kelce was out that play, right? He was out that play, and what happened? Something bad happened.
What, Pacheco? Yeah, fumbled.
So then what happens? Kelce goes up to Andy Reid. Of course, he's elderly, bro. Don't go and knock his block off and make him have a heart attack. But if you know you should be in the game in that moment and you express that, I mean, there's been so many times in my life, dude, where, I've been competitive and that competitive spirit comes out. Now, if he's punching him, I get it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all he did was go out there and show passion and say, hey, man, like,
I should have been in, yeah. I see your perspective on that, yeah.
I looked at it. Like, yeah, of course, everyone's going to blow out of proportion. Kelce this, Kelce that. At the end of the day, none of us have played tight end in a Super Bowl, for the Kansas City Chiefs. So.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see your perspective. I definitely see your perspective on that. I mean, that completely makes sense. At the time when I was watching it, I didn't really like it, but I mean, there's a lot of things that happened. But Man, I think that's gonna go ahead and do it for the pod. We got our little Super Bowl recap in, Taylor Swift, everything like that. I appreciate you hopping on the pod once again, dude. We're gonna have to run it back again. I'm your host, Jackson Burleson. This is Skyler Blaine right here. Appreciate you guys listening to another episode of the Take Podcast. You guys take care.
Yeah. Talk to me, baby. Talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, yeah. Broadway paradise.